seriously. So, for example, we've expressed regret about what was done in 1953.
Welcome to the Recent Past channel. The Islamic Revolution of Iran was a major political and social transformation that led to the overthrow of the Pahlavi regime and ended a monarchy lasting almost 2,500 years. The revolution was led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a prominent Shiite cleric, and occurred following public dissatisfaction with the policies and practices of the Pahlavi government. The religious aspect of the revolution is considered one of its distinctive and complex features. Iranian-American historian Ervand Abrahamian describes the victory of the Islamic Revolution as unique because it was guided by traditional clerics rather than political parties or social movements. Now, with this introduction, it is better to turn to the underlying causes and background of the revolution. After the fall of Reza Shah in 1941, a new era of religious, political thought emerged in Iran. The religious discourse grew stronger following the end of the first Pahlavi period, as Reza Shah's policies to separate religion from government failed. At the same time, Shiite traditions gained greater influence in public life. Various organizations and publications with Islamic titles began operating to support politically active clerics. This religious discourse reached its peak after the coup against Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, which sparked significant religious transformation in Iranian society. Although Reza Shah's rise to power had created a deep divide between the monarchy and religion, religious leaders managed to maintain their influence over the people. The movement for the nationalization of Iran's oil industry emerged in response to the people's demand for economic and political independence over the country's oil resources, which had long been controlled by Britain under the Darcy Concession. The political efforts of Said Abolkasem Kashani and Mohammad Mossadegh culminated in the nationalization of the oil industry, approved by the Iranian Senate on March 20, 1951. Mossadegh became prime minister in 1951 with Kashani's support. However, his rise to power threatened American and British interests. Due to tensions between Mossadegh and Kashani, the United States and Britain orchestrated a coup on August 19, 1953, overthrowing Mossadegh and bringing Fazlollah Zahedi to power. Although the Pahlavi regime was weakened by the oil nationalization movement, Western support restored its authority, and under Zahedi, control of Iran's oil returned to the hands of Britain and America. After the coup, the Pahlavi regime sought to consolidate its power by establishing SAVAK, the National Intelligence and Security Organization, in 1953, with technical assistance from Israeli and American intelligence agencies. SAVAK infiltrated universities, government departments, and major industrial centers, allowing the Shah to gain tight control over virtually all sectors of society. He supervised elections and dominated both the National Assembly and the Senate. Opposition parties were harshly suppressed to align with his interests. Nevertheless, Mohammad Reza Shah remained cautious in his dealings with the religious class. Clerical figures such as Ayatollah Said Hossein Boroujerdi had easy access to the royal court, and the government claimed to support and strengthen religion. Following the coup against Mossadegh, a religious revival occurred in Iran's social and political spheres. Signs of a return to Islam appeared both in political movements and in intellectual thought, and religious figures began to lead opposition activities. Before the coup, university circles were mostly secular, nationalist, or associated with the Tudeh party, but afterward, religious thinking also spread among academics. Clerics such as Said Mahmoud Talagani and Murtaza Motahari, along with university professor Mehdi Bazargan, played vital roles in this transformation. These three figures articulated a distinct discourse that unified science and faith, presenting Islam as a religion compatible with the needs of the modern world. Now let us look at some of the main causes behind the Islamic Revolution of Iran. Anti-religious policies during the Pahlavi era. Like his father Reza Shah, Muhammad Reza Pahlavi belittled the religious culture of the Iranian people and carried out actions contrary to Islamic principles and beliefs. These included replacing the Islamic calendar with the imperial calendar, encouraging women not to wear the traditional chador, and promoting nationalism as a rival to Islamic identity. The regime sought to emulate ancient Persian kings, reviving pre-Islamic nationalism to counter Islamic values. For example, through the creation of centers for prostitution, gambling, alcohol consumption, and the screening of immoral films, the Pahlavi regime spread moral corruption throughout society, epitomized by the Shiraz Arts Festival. The Pahlavi regime's support for Baha'ism. The presence of Baha'is in key political, cultural, economic, military, and security positions was distressing to religious individuals. Said Zahedzada, a sociologist and author of Baha'ism in Iran, considers Baha'ism a tool of colonial powers to undermine religious authority in Iran. He believes that wherever the issue of secularizing politics or society has arisen, he targeted the Pahlavi regime itself, which is why Baha'ism was dismantled after the overthrow of the Pahlavi regime. Economic exploitation in the Pahlavi regime. The widespread financial corruption of the Pahlavi family was one of the factors in the People's Revolution. John Foran describes the Pahlavi regime as being immersed in economic corruption, 63, until it transformed into the Islamic Revolution in 1977 and ultimately achieved victory. Hamid Algar, a professor of Islamic studies at the University of California, Berkeley, considers one of the factors accelerating the process of the Islamic Revolution to be the continuous ceremonies and demonstrations held by the people in reaction to the publication of an article titled, Iran and the Red and Black Colonialism, in the Eilt newspaper on January 7, 1978. 17-day 1356 sh, which was said to have insulted Imam Khomeini. The people of Qom, who believed the article published in the Eilt newspaper was written by the Pahlavi government, demonstrated against the regime on January 9. It is reported that these demonstrations were met with a severe government crackdown, resulting in several deaths and injuries. Following this incident, the people of Tabriz held a memorial ceremony for the victims of Qom on February 18, 29 bombing, which, according to reports, also resulted in people being killed and wounded. Furthermore, holding the 40th day memorial for the victims of the Tabriz incident in cities such as Tehran, Mashhad, Isfahan, and Shiraz led to more fatalities, and this cycle paved the way for new events. In addition to the 40th day memorials in various cities, the September 8, 17 Shahrivar demonstrations by the people of Tehran are also considered a factor in accelerating the revolution. The September 8 demonstrations occurred following protests against the Shiraz Arts Festival held during the month of Ramadan, where it was alleged that indecent behaviors took place. Following the successive public demonstrations, the Shah left Iran on January 16, 1979, and Imam Khomeini returned to the country on February 1, after 15 years of exile. Ultimately, the Iranian monarchy collapsed on February 11, 1979, due to massive demonstrations by unarmed people, a widespread multi-month strike across various sectors, and short-term guerrilla activities. According to John Foran, the number of fatalities in the year leading up to the victory of the Islamic Revolution, from the final months of 1977 to the final months of 1978, is estimated to be between 10 and 12,000 people. And finally, I hope you enjoyed this historical documentary. If you're interested in history topics, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel Recent Past.